very serious journalists telling me that they're hearing that the Obama divorce rumors are true.
Breaking right now, growing speculation that Barack and Michelle Obama are to divorce as Meghan McCain reveals that the couple have been living separate lives. This, of course, comes amid all of the rumors that I revealed a couple of weeks ago about Jennifer Aniston having a secret relationship with the former president. And of course, Barack did show up on his own to Jimmy Carter's funeral and on his own to Donald Trump's inauguration. Something is definitely up. Really fascinating to listen to Meghan McCain, of course, the former View host, daughter of the late John McCain, very well connected in political circles and entertainment circles. Speaking with Tara Palmari, the Washington journalist, a real insider about how all of this is being openly discussed inside the Beltway. Listen.
I've been hearing this rumor that the Obamas are getting a divorce by reputable people. I'm not talking about TMZ. I'm not talking about Perez Hilton, although I love him. He's my friend. I'm talking about like very serious journalists telling me that they're hearing that the Obama divorce rumors are true. Do you agree with that? Have you heard that? Do you think it's just garbage?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I've certainly heard it for a while, even before Michelle said she wasn't coming to the inauguration, which also could be interpreted as like another act of resistance, which would only make her like more, if that's really true and they stay together, like more of a baddie in the movement when like there really is no one in the Democratic Party who is like holding that mantle aside from AOC. But yeah, we've heard that for a long time. Like I just heard that they live separate lives. Like that's just what's happened. But they are kind of like America's sweethearts in a lot of ways. And it's so I think it would be devastating. Like I told some friends about it before it broke on the Daily Mail like a week or so earlier. And when they called me, they're like, oh my God, you were right. I believe you. I think it's like actually devastating for people. But
devastating for the media elite and the political establishment who are already having to deal with the fact that the Democratic Party has crumbled. MSDNC has crumbled. CNN slumped by 80% when it came to the ratings for the inauguration. But Meghan Kelly hosted the Ruthless podcast guys on her brilliant show, and they have a theory as to how this news became public. Watch.
Let me ask you for real, do you think this is true?
No, so here's the thing, and this is one other theory of the case. Maybe Jennifer Aniston is the Biden's answer to George Clooney here. Right? I mean, maybe this, because I'll be honest, I have heard this sort of thing rumbling around in DC, and there's some connections there with the like people, what you would call reputable people, because they served in an administration. Maybe they served in the Obama administration. They certainly served in the Biden administration.
And that's the thing is, so the Bidens and the Obamas hate each other because Michelle Obama is very good friends with Hunter Biden's ex-wife. So that's led to a significant problem where they don't like Hunter. And if you don't like Hunter, Joe doesn't like you. So I would not be surprised if Holmes is right on with this of like, oh, well, why don't we do this?
It's like, oh, man, you give us problems, maybe you can have a problem or two.
Bingo.
But I'll tell you what. Next level. Wait, just to be clear, you are suggesting that maybe there is something going on between Barack and Jennifer and the Bidens are leaking it.
That's my guess. That's my guess.
Could be.
Team Jennifer now briefing to the Daily Mail in an exclusive story headlined how a heartbreaking experience forced Jennifer Aniston to come clean about Barack Obama cheating rumors. The Mail reports that insiders have shed light on what made the star choose to break her pattern of refusing to comment on rumors. Jen was going to have her people either not respond or give a no comment, but she thought that would add fuel to the fire. She truly doesn't know how people come up with this stuff out of nowhere. More than being concerned about it, she's totally baffled. However, Jen's upset for Michelle because she's seen stories about the Obamas' marriage being on the rocks, and she knows firsthand what it is like to be at the center of stories like that. Wow. Brittany, the editor of RNN, joins me now stateside. And Brittany, this is an absolutely fascinating story Obviously, Jennifer Aniston is moving to distance herself. She has previously been pictured with Michelle Obama. And we did have the sort of denial from Barack posting a picture of Michelle looking utterly miserable and terrible on her birthday that lots of people actually showed that they're clearly not together anymore, because there's no way that Barack would post a picture of Michelle looking so dodgy if they were in a loving marriage. But what do you think is going on here? Because the fact that you've got people like Meghan McCain, Tara Palmari, very Washington insider people saying, yeah, this has just been openly discussed. They're living separate lives. It feels like we've got some sort of end of a Democratic dynasty.
Yeah, I think so. I don't follow them too closely, but I can't even think of the last time I really saw them together. And I would not be surprised in the slightest if they were living separate lives. And it just seems to be something that's obviously growing. And usually when we see stories like these, they come to fruition at some points. I think Barack has, at least for the last maybe year during the election or whatever, I think he has been doing a lot of things that she hasn't been a part of. And obviously, couples can do different things, but I think particularly the funeral of Jimmy Carter was a weird omission because he is obviously the longest living president that we've had. He and his wife were very well respected for their humanitarian work. And so many people obviously always put their differences aside to go to these type of things. So that she decided not to go was just exceptionally strange. I mean, even Melania went, and that was the anniversary, I feel, if I remember correctly, of either her mother's death or her funeral. So that was a very emotional time for her, and she still went, yet Michelle couldn't go. It's just definitely a little bit odd because Jimmy Carter is definitely a statesman, and everybody sort of knew something like this was going to come at some point. So you got to wonder, what are things looking like behind the scenes? We won't know for sure until something comes out, but it seems to be that they're maybe on separate paths, but wishing the best for them. But yeah, it's definitely that if people are talking about it in Washington, it sounds like something's definitely going on.
The thing is that what's interesting about what Tara Palmieri said is that Michelle, if she had simply skipped Trump's second inauguration and made it clear that it was because of Trump, that she could have been seen as a resistance figure. Some suggestions, of course, that she could be the next Democratic nominee, although, again, she has always played down her willingness to enter the political fray on a personal basis. But the thing is, you're right. That's where it doesn't make any sense why she would miss Jimmy Carter's funeral. He was a Democrat. So there was no political reason not to be there unless she is so repulsed by Donald Trump she can't even imagine sitting next to him. I think what's fascinating about the separate lives line is that this is very similar to what we're hearing at the moment about Prince Harry and Meghan. Separate lives on a personal basis, separate lives professionally, but staying together for the brand. Because, of course, for Michelle and Barack, just like Meghan and Harry, Brittany, there's a lot of money tied up in these things. There's a lot of deals that are done with them as a couple. So is it possible that this living separate lives just goes on with the odd public photo like that one we saw on Instagram, and in fact, the public are never told about what's really going on in the relationship?
I mean, that's entirely possible because we do have the recent examples of like Meryl Streep. She announced that she had been separated from her husband for like 6 years until officially announcing it. You have Will and Jada Pinkett Smith as well, who were separated for an extended like years and hadn't really told anybody publicly. So I've always thought with Harry and Meghan, and perhaps with Michelle and Barack as well, that they will separate privately, but not announce it publicly because they have to save the brand. They have to save the brand. And at this point, Meghan without Harry hasn't really made a ton of money. When you think of the money Harry and Meghan have made, it's all due to his family and due to his projects related to his family. Nothing else has generated them a bunch of cash. Obviously, whatever Meghan's show turns out to be and whatever happens with American Riviera Orchard, that might change, but Harry has actually been the breadwinner. Obviously, Barack is the mover and shaker in political circles, but Michelle has had very big success with her books. And so we could definitely see a separation publicly in them doing different things. And then, well, they never maybe announce it, or maybe they keep up appearances until it's become clear that somebody wants to officially move on, and then that's when we could see some sort of official announcement. But it is very strange and very telling that they're definitely seeming to live separate lives.
And Brittany, can I just ask how the Obamas are viewed stateside now? Has their, I guess, the gold dust surrounding them somewhat been diminished? Because, of course, you had Obama trying to suggest that Trump was a dictator, some sort of dictator, the second coming of Hitler. And then there they are prowling around at Jimmy Carter's funeral. Nothing they're really doing in the creative space has done that well. Do you think that people have sort of turned off the Obamas' holier than thou woke pronouncements anyway, regardless of whether they are together or not?
I think that could definitely be a possibility, because I've listened to commentators and stuff in the political arena. I don't follow some of that stuff super closely, but it seems like Barack has been often sort of the mover and shaker behind the scenes, putting certain candidates up. He was probably part of the switch over between Biden and Harris. And so he's definitely tried to sort of utilize his stature within the party to try and direct the party. But obviously, that's not going anywhere. And yes, he has a certain magnetism. Yes, I think he will always have a group of people who loves every single thing he does. I don't think any of that charisma or stature actually translates into another candidate. So we've seen in some ways a really big fail of the Obama legacy. And we might not know the full extent of that until many years down the line. But it seems that there's been, I would say, a shift in the culture. And I think people are less antagonistic towards the Trumps than they were the first term. I think things have settled down in some of those respects. And I think maybe the respect and influence of the Obamas has sort of waned over time, but we shall see in the future. It's one of those things where we may not know for several years now, but it is fascinating to see sort of this change in the American political environment. It seems to have gone from sort of rapid shifts. And so don't know if this means what this means for the future, but it's been very interesting to watch.
And the thing is, Brittany, he has this constant desire, Barack, to be seen as cool. And at some time, I think the more you try and be cool, the less cool you are. And that's something about Trump. There's something about Trump now that is incredibly cool and incredibly trendy, and they are the new Kennedys. Whereas Barack looks pretty try-hard. And there's quite a few examples of that. This is one TikTok. Have a look at this. But first, I know the reason you're watching this show is because you know that these days it's almost impossible to trust the mainstream media or the so-called fact checkers who claim to patrol social media. And there's a very good reason for that, right? Think about it. Brexit, COVID, Donald Trump, they got it all wrong. So I've got the solution. Today's sponsor, Ground News, is the only safe way to consume the headlines. And you can go to ground.news/outspoken to check it out for yourself. But what I want to actually do is show you this website and app in action. So let's look at the recent story about Elon Musk falling out with Nigel Farage. It was over Tommy Robinson, of course. And the legacy media wanted to whip up this story to destroy all three men. But you can see here on Ground News that they have collated the 230 sources in one place. Then it instantly shows how the story is being covered by the media, but broken down by whether the media organizations lean to the left or the right. This is the illustration bias distribution service. And if you scroll down, you can see every article about the topic broken down by political position or ownership. So in this case, Fox News gave a fair analysis, whereas the Independent and Mediaite did not. They actually lambasted Musk and Robinson and Farage as morons with big egos, but they didn't actually look into why the split happened, how it could be resolved. What's more, Ground News actually gets to know you personally. This is really important. It will provide you with news stories that you are interested in, but it also analyzes your own biases and comes up with potential blind spots for stories that you might not be hearing about. So if you're like me, you love the news, but you no longer trust the legacy media, Ground News gives you the tools to understand the truth about what is going on in the world. I can vouch for this service. It's the only way I now read the news. It allows me to see through media bias and manipulative narratives without having to rely on the MSM to define the truth for me. So you can go to ground.news/outspoken. Check it out for yourself. And if you subscribe through my link, you get 40% off. That's 40% off the Vantage plan, which is what I use for unlimited access. Now, I should say, Ground News, completely subscriber funded. If you support my sponsor, you support my work too. And for less than a Netflix subscription, you get all of the world's news in one place. And you can think for yourself. It really is a game changer for a news junkie like me. So I'll just repeat the address, ground.news/outspoken, or you can click on the link in the description box below if you're watching on YouTube or Rumble. There's also the QR code up on screen right now as well. But now, back to the show.
What is your name and what do you do?
My name is Barack Hussein Obama, and I am the ex-president of the United States.
So I'm curious, what was the last thing that you learned about yourself?
Get rid of fear. It can be an engine to motivate you and make you work hard. But at a certain point, though, fear can hold you back.
Do you think Kendrick Lamar is taking the #1 spot?
I do think that Kendrick has a unique status right now.
My name is Vic Blands, and this is Deep Cut with Barack Obama.
I mean, I don't want to hear Barack Obama talking about Kendrick Lamar. Huh.
No, I don't think really anybody does. And he's trying so hard to be cool and hip. And then at some point, if you don't hit the right zeitgeist, or maybe sometimes people just don't care anymore and they want results. I mean, there's been so much in those first couple of days of Donald Trump's presidency is like, wow. You know, people I wondered, like, who was running the country before? I have no idea, because Donald Trump is so out there. And so he's not following, trying to be cool, trying to be trendy. He's like, I have a vision and I'm going to execute it. And although Barack talks very well, he's always had a very great ability to connect with people through the words he speaks. I think sometimes in this case, action is starting to speak louder than words. And I think people are appreciating that there's action, that there's direction, that there's a vision for this country that I think everybody can come behind in a way. And I think people are finding that super exciting and engaging. And I wonder if Obama's time is just, he's past his prime and he's past what's influencing people previously. I think
and by the way, if you
has
are
changed.
a podcaster sitting down or a TikToker sitting down with Barack Obama now, don't ask him about Kendrick Lamar. Ask him about Jennifer Aniston, because we want the truth. We want the truth, Brittany. Look, we'll keep on this one. Brittany, editor of RNN, the Royal News Network. Always love having you, Brittany. We will speak next week.
Thanks, Dan.
Thank you so much for watching Dan Wootton Outspoken. Please click on my face just to the bottom left to subscribe to this brand new independent news source and turn on the notification bell so you'll be alerted to our brand new live shows, uncancelled interviews, and special royal episodes. Outspoken is also now available as a podcast, so you can listen to the show every weekday on the go, wherever you are.